And it's really interesting and very difficult to try to be like you and what your creative thing is and shut out all this other influence.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? We are so pumped to have you with us for this episode of the Socality Show. Scott, how are you, buddy?
Zach, I am so good. I'm happy it's Wednesday. I'm happy to see your face through the computer screen. You look good. I always say you look good. I don't know why I say that. You just...
Hey, I mean, if there's going to be something you say at the beginning of each episode, it might as well be something that puts a little wind in my sails.
Oh, I love that. I love putting wind in your sails. And we're going to have a lot of fun today. We have Chris and Lizzie on the show. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be talking about all things social media, and they are so fun. We chatted with them in the pre-call, and they're just, their cats might make an appearance. So I'm excited for that.
I'm really pumped for the cats, and the chat has already been a ton of fun. I didn't talk with the Socality production budget about this, but I've put up a free Socality mug for whoever wants to freestyle on our intro beat. If I have to pay for that myself, I will. I don't think mugs are too expensive. So
no, we can get the mug out there. I've got my
producer John. Producer John says it's been approved. So
producer John, if producer John says yes, but I noticed we have different mugs. I've got my Socality mug.
I've got my my Creator Lab mug.
Canon one.
They're the same shape. I reached for it quick. Shout out to Christina.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, what's really exciting today, we're going to get into this. A few things are, for the people in the chat room, we have the mystery box at the end of the show, and the person that is the MVP of the chat room, who brings so much energy to the chat room, who's fun, who's creative, who maybe even adds some little spice, a little sauce, I don't know, a little sprinkle of something to the conversation. You are going to win
a little bit of dressing.
A little bit of dressing. And you are going to win what's inside the mystery box. And I'm telling you, it's good this week. You are wanting this mystery box. So
I don't even know what's in it. I don't have that level of clearance.
Well, it's here. It's underneath my desk. And so it's looking good. I gave it a little shake earlier, and I'm not too hard because things are fragile. And yeah, it's going to be good. So anyway, we're going to get into that. And later on in the show, we have the win of the week. It's the part of the show where you, the community, throw in your win of the week. And we love to celebrate everybody and all the good things that are happening. And I know you told me, Zach, you have a good win of the week. And so don't tell me now, because I want to be surprised.
Yeah, hold on to your hats, folks.
If you wear hats, hold on to them.
Absolutely.
You've got a hat on.
I do. Hey, last episode, we had Cole Crecelius on from Known Supply, and this is a Known Supply lid. I had to rep the boys.
Right.
So the reason we are excited to have this as a live show is because we love integrating your feedback and your questions as we go. So I see a number of you have found the chat already. And within the chat, there's a function to send your chats to the panelists and the attendees. So if you want everyone to be seeing, if you want to be networking and chatting with the audience that's in here with you, feel free to set that setting up. And if you have a question that you want us to ask Chris and Lizzie as we go, use the Q&A function. If you're on a desktop computer or a laptop, it'll be on the bottom of your screen. And if you're on a mobile device or an iPad, you can swipe to the right and find it there. We won't be able to get to all of your questions, but we love to incorporate as many as we can and make sure that this interview is something that you are a part of, not just listening to, but participating in.
Zach, you're so professional.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
I love that delivery. So well done. Anyway, we're going to get Chris and Lizzie on here soon. How's the weather out there in Chilliwack?
You know what? It feels like spring's starting to wake up. I noticed that because I came outside and I sneezed. So
I hope it wasn't a COVID sneeze.
Oh, no. Now I'm going to get tested. I'm going to get tackled by the Monsters Inc. guy, 2319, and something up my nose. No, I think it was just that the flowers are releasing their
thing. See,
good things.
Pre-COVID, sneezing was normal. You'd sneeze, everyone would say, God bless you. It was all good. Everyone would say, oh, allergies. Now you sneeze and everyone runs for cover. You have to get a test.
I know I have to bless myself. I sneeze in the store and everyone looks at me like I'm an animal. I'm like, well, bless me then.
Bless me. You're not going to bless me. I'm going to bless me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Scott, do you find that when the springtime starts to roll around, you know, the plants start opening up a little bit, right. The sky starts getting a little lighter. Do you find your music taste changes a little bit? Do you have like a spring playlist?
Totally, because you put on those summer songs, you roll down the windows. This is how I know summer's hit.
Okay.
You're driving and you roll the windows down and you pump your music.
So it's summer has hit for you. There's snow on the ground in Calgary and it's summertime.
Well, when summer hits or spring hits, I turn on the summer music. Until then, it's winter music, which is like the depression music, right?
Yeah.
It's always like the sad songs, you know what I mean? But summer comes and you turn on the hits.
Yeah. Well, I've found, I just kind of felt like, firing it up a little bit. So I started playing some like pop punk, some of the old high school hits. Skate park bops.
Okay.
And I hopped on Instagram and I saw a bunch of other people all putting pop punk on their stories. And I was wondering if maybe there's just something about spring that awakens the inner like angsty teenager that wants to get out of their hometown and be understood by their parents.
It does.
Or if that's just my friend group. I don't know. So maybe somebody in the chat, let me know if you guys have been shredding Blink-182 and Neck Deep.
What's that one by Weezer, Island in the Sun?
Island in the Sun. Yeah.
That's such a summer song. I always play that one.
That's good. Scott, what is that your go-to summer song, Island in the Sun?
Well, I think it's a good summer song. I don't know if it's my go-to, but it reminds me of summer.
Absolutely.
And then what's the other one? Oh, you know which one I'm loving? Peaches.
Peaches. That's a good spring song. It's got a little.
Well, it talks about peaches. Peaches come out in the summer, don't they?
I think that's, yep. I mean, I'm no botanist, but I think you're right.
You are no botanist, but you know when the peaches come out. I think we should start the show.
I really think we should. Why don't you let people know who we have joining, and I'm going to bring them up.
All right. Today we have Chris and Lizzie. They're YouTubers, filmmakers, photographers, and owners of Know-How Media Operations in Toronto, Canada. With a specialty in corporate video, they soon pivoted to commercial and travel-based content. Some of their clients include Corona, not the virus, Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, Adobe, Google, North Face, the Scotland Tourism Board, amongst others. Their growing expertise in viral videos for their Know-How Media clients soon influenced them to grow their own social media platforms. Chris and Lizzie produced a variety of creative content ranging from short films to educational photography and video tutorials. Their work is frequently aimed at inspiring young creators to start their own creative business and help provide them with tips and tools to do so. And here they are in the visual flesh. I was going to say in the flesh, but it's not. But there you are.
We can see their flesh. So
they do have flesh on. I would like to confirm that.
Hey, welcome to the show, guys.
Hello, Chris and Lizzie. How are you?
Good. We're doing great. Yeah.
Oh, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course.
Looking at the chat, people are pumped to have you guys on. So I think the Q&A is going to be a ton of fun today.
I've got my coffee. I can see that you have your coffee. Okay, what do you have there?
It's empty.
You're done. You're done. But Chris, what are you drinking?
Double shot espresso iced latte with macadamia nut latte, slightly sugared milk. It is delicious. It is the go-to
It is really
once
good.
the warm weather hits.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That sounds like the kind of drink that you can only get with your name spelled wrong on the cup. Like, do you spell your own name wrong just for the vibe?
Oh, 100%.
So you guys are engaged, and we were just talking off screen a little bit. You guys are preparing to get married. That's pretty exciting. So I want to take it back a step though. How did you guys meet in the first place?
Ooh, give us the love story.
The love story, far from a love story, that's for sure.
It was not love at first sight.
It wasn't.
No. I think we both thought the other one was cute, but anyways, so we met my first ever day of university. It was a frosh event for our program at school, and Chris was the frosh leader, so he was a year older than I. Well, he's still a year older than I am, and so it was.
Caught up.
And he was intoxicated and in a cape because he thought it was fun to be silly at frosh.
And it was also my friend's birthday, and that's kind of what you did. That was the vibe.
I was not impressed, and he said something to me today that neither of us can recall, but I recall it being like rude. I don't know what, and then we didn't talk for 2 years after that. And
2 years?
Yeah, so I was going into my third year. He was going into his fourth year of university, and I we were both dating other people. We'd both broken off our relationships. And then he sent me a message over Facebook late at night. And then we went on a few dates, and then it was a very slow burn.
It was just, that's the perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
A relationship is totally a slow burn.
Yeah, I was in full denial that we were exclusive until a couple months in, you started just introducing me as your girlfriend. And I was like, well, okay. I'm not seeing anything else. I did like him, but it was a very slow thing. And then I think after the first year, we knew that we were really serious, but it took a while.
Yeah, no, it took a long time.
It took a while, yeah.
Lizzie's journal entry in month 8 is I think I'm dating Cape Guy. How did this happen?
Not sure, but.
No, truly. And then if I could go back and be like, yeah, and then you're going to marry him, I would have been like, oh, honey, no.
So what was it that redeemed this first impression? I mean, the way you painted the first impression to me, it actually sounded great. I think I can't think of a clearer picture of somebody kind of
a movie.
Someone swooping in to be your hero. But
on our first date, I thought he was a jerk. I thought he was trying too hard. I thought he was
apparently that's just me.
So what did it take for him to turn this around? That's a tough start.
Yeah, he was doing things like holding the door open for women with mothers with strollers, and giving money to a homeless man, just nice people things. But
With the cape on?
Without the cape, no. Okay. This was on our first date.
It was under my shirt actually at the time.
And I thought that he was putting it on, trying really hard. And I was like, okay, well, it was just over, it was almost over the top. He was being too nice on the first date. So I was like, no, this can't be real. Then I realized, no, he's actually like that. So I kept waiting for him to make mistakes so I could probably break it off with you.
Yeah.
And then he just didn't. So.
Oh,
now we're here.
We are
9 years later, 2 cats in a house.
But what I liked about you was that you were always very supportive and encouraging of whatever I wanted to do. That was the most important thing. And you had a lot of interests, and you always wanted to do fun things.
Yeah.
Not just sit at home and Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Although you are watching Netflix, what's your current show of choice?
Scott's asking this because he knows what we're gonna say.
I know what you're gonna say.
We're not Netflixing right now. We're definitely
not currently.
Well,
same.
We're
big fans of Crave. We like HBO shows. So we just finished one show called Search Party that we really, really, really like.
Mm-hmm.
It has the girl from Arrested Development. Just a really crazy show. And
why are you telling them the one we just brought up before we started?
And then I'm going into the Chernobyl thing.
Search Party.
I told them the
Chernobyl
nice
series.
show before we say that we love really messed up stuff.
Really messed up stuff.
Natural disasters is what we go for.
And we've watched it probably, 15 times. So many times.
And study it. Not the disaster part,
I was on a
filmmaking
Reddit
part.
Chernobyl thread last night again. We've listened to the podcast over and over again.
Lizzie knows how an RBMK reactor, a Russian nuclear reactor works to she could be one of the people that work there now.
I don't know about that, but I do understand how it works now because I want to.
Well, if things were to go sideways again, they know who to call.
Yeah. She knows the whole floor map. She knows where every pipe is.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
But I did see you with a map up one time on Reddit. Of how it works.
Blueprints.
She's
blueprints. She's studying the blueprints.
Only blueprints. It's different than a map.
Oh, that's great. And we don't even need to tell them that you're the person to call because they're probably listening right now. If any of us have an Alexa present or something, they already know who to call.
He's definitely listening.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, it was nice knowing you guys.
It's nice knowing you guys. Well, it's really exciting. I mean, we could talk about Netflix forever, but I want to talk about you guys and your YouTube channels.
Oh, no, you don't.
Yeah, no, we don't. Let's not talk about it. I met you guys. I can't remember now. Maybe 2 years ago.
2.5 years ago.
Yeah, and
16 minutes, Scott. I never forget.
Yeah, you wrote it down. And obviously, I think we'd been following each other for a while through social, and met you both here in Alberta. You guys came to do some exploring of the mountains. And genuinely nice people from, first interaction, you great people. So want to say that. Yeah.
I'm not sure you got the best impression of me though.
I know you were sick. You had food poisoning. I was like, poor Lizzie. Oh, but you were a trooper. You know, you're a trooper because you were just like trying to push through. And I'm just like, this girl's too nice. She needs to go lay down and just like have a moment. Yeah, but you're generally nice people. But I think one thing that I think people are excited to chat with you today, and I'm interested to learn, is, you know, as content creators, I noticed, Chris, I think it was on your portfolio where you said a fancy way to say a YouTuber. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But, you know, you guys are content creators and, you know, obviously do great work that way. Where did the YouTube journey start for you guys? Was it when you both met each other, or did you start at the same time? What was that journey like on your trajectory? Because you both have great channels.
It's definitely like a long, thank you. It's definitely a long story. I'll try to like give you like the quick Cole's notes of everything. So Lizzie and I both met at Ryerson University, radio and television arts. So background in producing and creating content all the time. Once we both graduated, I went really, really heavy into like the freelance world. Lizzie went to go work for a production company and study how like somebody actually does it rather than just making it up like I was on the fly. At that point, probably about 2 years after we graduated, I had built up enough clients, needed some help. Lizzie was looking for a change in her life in terms of work at that point. So we were like, why don't we team up together? I need help. You have a lot of expertise. Lizzie came on board, like quadrupled revenue with all the insight that she had from like the previous place. And we were doing corporate commercials, like everything at that point, just making a lot of content for other people. One of my goals, and just because I was a huge fan of like Ben Brown, Casey Neistat, and I would just watch these things, I was like, I would love to do something like that, because Lizzie mentioned this in a video that we put out recently on her channel, where it's like, I've always just really been into performance when it comes to being an artist. So whether that was playing music live in a band or singer-songwriter, like being a creative and doing some sort of performance was always something I really liked. And I was kind of seeing this big trend where music was at that stage in my life was becoming less important, and I didn't really see it as like a career trajectory, but I saw that like YouTubers were like kind of like the modern day rock stars, where they got to like travel, make cool content and put it out in the world, and people cared about what was going on. So from that point, I kind of started making like travel videos and posting them to Facebook and seeing how they would do. So I was like, Facebook watch is the next big thing. Wow. Let's be a Facebook watcher. So we started making videos there, and they started doing really well. And then our company started becoming this like viral video company. And our goal was to work with like tourism boards. We really just wanted to make these travel tourism board videos. And then I rekindled
We didn't know anything about YouTube.
We didn't know really much about YouTube.
What year was this? What year are we talking about? Just a few years ago, or
probably like 4 years ago at this point. So big like dedication to being a Facebook watcher.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we saw a lot of success there, but we never really saw it. Like a lot of brands never really wanted to work with us, and it was really hard to grow a channel. Like you could get views, and maybe it was all an illusion, because Facebook kind of went through this whole thing where they like spiked up views, but it did help us at the time sell a lot of contracts to work and make videos for other people. So anyways, again, there's just the part of me that still wanted to do vlogs and make this type of content, because I really loved, again, Ben Brown, Casey Neistat. So I rekindled my friendship with Peter McKinnon, who I used to shoot weddings with back in the day. And he was like on the YouTube train. So like, I remember his first video went viral, and I remember seeing it on like F Stoppers, and I like DM'd, I was like, dude, F Stoppers shared your video. This is knuckin' futz. Oh my God, man. You know what I mean? And then he was like, yeah, crazy stuff. And then he's like, we should grab coffee again. And this was when he was only at like 20,000, maybe 50,000 subs or something like that at the time, which is crazy to think now that he's at like 5.5 million. And
is that good?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
I think so. I think he finally do it for a living now, which is exciting.
Good.
Yeah.
3,
and so anyways, by the time we actually got coffee.
So you were friends before. You were friends before.
Yeah. We we weren't like close, but there's always been this thing with Pete and I where we're very similar people, and when we hang out, we have so many overlapping interests.
You really hit it off
We
when you met up again.
Yeah, so we really got along when we got coffee a couple months later, and then I started shooting some videos with him and trying to help him on his channel. And then I remember right before he was about to hit 1 million subs, he was like, dude, you'd be so great at this. You're already doing it on Facebook. Just stop doing it there and do it on YouTube instead. And I think it
you did.
So I did. And that was the big decision. It's just like seeing somebody else do it and knowing it was possible, knowing that it was a viable career choice, potentially if it went well. And then, deciding to commit to something like that, which I think is the hardest decision when it comes to wanting to do YouTube, is deciding to actually do it, which sounds so simple, but it's such a bigger decision than just like, I'm going to make YouTube videos. It's like, no, I'm going to build a brand and then commit myself to showing up every single week, 2 to 3 times. And as you guys know,
could be all for nothing.
Yeah. And I'm going to make no money for a long time, which is super cool. Yeah. And that's a tough decision to make, because we had this company and it was doing really, really well. And to decide to do something kind of at that point that was a little bit more selfish versus together was a little bit of a even tougher decision, because it meant even more compromise. It meant time away from our relationship. It meant time away from our company potentially, which did all happen, and trying to chase after Chris HAU wants to do YouTube. And that's a really tough decision to go through emotionally, financially, and seeing what that turns into. So remember when I said this wouldn't be a short story?
No, I like it. I mean,
that's good.
Yeah, jump in. This is great. That's what we want to hear.
So that I was kind of playing the supportive girlfriend role and watching a lot more YouTube than I did, and realized that there weren't many women in the space. And then I was also kind of probably a little annoyed that Chris started getting all the credit for our company and for what he was doing. And I was like, I can make stuff that's this good. Why is everyone tooting his horn so much?
Love you.
And then, no, I said you were doing a good job. You know what I mean? And I figured, if there weren't enough women in the space, then it was partially up to me to then set that example. So and I started kind of with the goal that, okay, if I can influence, or help encourage at least one person, or, be it, male or female, but especially women, to start their own creative business, then I have succeeded. And so when you kind of start with that goal, then the numbers don't really matter as much. And I was just focused on the positive impact of it, which really got me going. And then when we started to meet people who did the same thing, like Becky and Chris, and started to form a community, it became a lot of fun. And so it was easy to keep going. And now I never looked that far into the future to where we are now. And we can do, so many cool things, but also have such an impact and teach people and really be a part of their creative careers. It's so fulfilling. Yeah, it's really, really cool. And we want to do so much more. I mean, this probably would have been the year. We want to spend more time with people, in person, and we wanted to organize more trips and teaching courses and things like that. But here we are, and we can't travel.
Maybe a Socality Chris HAU LIZZIE PEIRCE trip. Maybe.
Hey,
where are we going?
Where are we going?
Really, anywhere.
Anywhere. Listen, I will go to Saskatoon.
Okay.
Moncton.
I need to.
Moncton.
Yeah.
Actually, let's go to that A&W in Banff with the heated toilet seats.
Oh,
everyone take a photo.
Yeah. Hey, so 2 things here real quick. I see a couple people in the chat, Lizzie, who are saying that you have been an example and an inspiration to them. So that's really cool to see that even here, present right now, are people that can testify that you have achieved what you set out to do. So congratulations and keep on.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. And I always want to leave the feedback too. If there's anything else you guys, expect from us and what you want to see, please let us know, because we often sit in here and we're like, what else can we do?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting question. Where are you getting your ideas for your content? Is it coming from user generated feedback, or are you sitting there thinking together and having conversations going, I should do a video about this? What's that process like for you guys when it comes to the content creation and what you're creating?
Good question. For myself, not speaking for you, some of it is from our audience. And if we think it's something, we're always kind of playing this game of, we have to, like, this channel isn't going to be anything if I can't consistently generate views. So I have to kind of weigh, is it a topic that people are asking for that I think I can position in a way that's going to get eyeballs? And the same thing with my own ideas. If I think, wow, that's something I really want to know, that I would want to know, that I think other people should know, that I can present in an engaging way, then that's a perfect video. But once in a while, we do just make something for the heck of it that we want to make. And sometimes it ends up doing really well and surprises me.
Yep.
And I mean really well by getting a lot of attention online. It can still be a great piece without getting a lot of views, of course. But but a lot of times, I mean, our channels are a bit of a business in that way, where the views matter. So we kind of pull from a lot of different places. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, like, we bounce ideas off of each other for our own channels, but I don't think we like creatively go, hey, like, how can I help you, and vice versa. I think we both have our separate channels in terms of like creative direction on that.
Yeah.
And we have our own teams that we consult with. And sometimes you'll get inspired by something that you might see on Instagram or something that you might see somewhere else. And that idea kind of grows into a bigger idea, and then it shifts again. So I like to let, from like a creative process, let ideas naturally kind of grow. So maybe it starts with a title. Like, I work very much on the YouTube space of like, here's the title for the video, and then make the video. So maybe when that, when one of the videos I think we're going to chat about later about like Instagram is killing your creativity. You know, that started a little bit from thinking about like, oh, well, the algorithm dictates so much. So, okay, well, what about a YouTube video about how Instagram, it kind of pushes the same type of thing in front of you all the time? Well, if it's pushing the same type of thing in front of you all the time, it's probably because a lot of people are making the same thing. So that is that we're feeding the Instagram algorithm, but are we being less creative? Oh, well, maybe we're becoming less creative. All right, that's the idea. And then it's something that grows as you think more about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, starting with the title first and then coming up with, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's the nature of the business.
Yeah.
But my editor is also, I want to give him credit, because he's come up with a few really good ideas lately, including like one video I just posted today was a part 2 of a whole series about macro photography. Mm-hmm. And because he was taking more of these types of photos and said, hey, I have a really great idea for a video. So that's what we ended up making. So, which has been fantastic to have someone to collaborate with. And it's not just Chris or I sitting in a room by ourselves. Mm-hmm. And talking with ourselves about ideas. It can be hard to be creative that way. Sometimes it's nice to have feedback and collaboration.
I would say the other thing too is like talking with other people that are sometimes not in your space, and kind of getting inspired by maybe one little thing that they say, and then writing that down, and that becomes an idea. Because if it's like a theme in someone else's life, it could be a theme in a lot of people's lives. Mm-hmm. And then so that's always a big thing. And then books too. I'll read a lot of books and I'll be like, oh, that's a great idea for, maybe someone says one sentence and I'll be like, that's a whole video in itself.
Yeah, where does inspiration come from at the end of the day?
Yeah.
It's cool. So I want to take it back a step and expand on some of the themes of you guys starting. So you talked a little bit about the choices and the risks that went into deciding to launch into YouTube, and some of the motivations as well, wanting to inspire and provide some representation for women, wanting to be able to perform and be central in that content, and taking the risk of stepping away from a successful business. As you did that, how long did it take for things to become sustainable? What were some challenges and victories early on that either made you want to question whether it was the right decision or galvanized your choice that it was? Talk to me about the first few months of deciding to go it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to start?
That's a good question. Sure. I can talk a bit about both of our experience too. When we started YouTube, I was really gung-ho about the business. Know-how media was first and foremost what we were going to do. And this YouTube thing was like a side hustle, something we did for fun.
Yeah.
We can maybe make a little money, I wasn't, thinking that seriously about it. And so we kept doing both kind of simultaneously. And at one point, Chris came to me really frustrated. Can I talk about this?
Yeah, say what
we
you
can talk about it. That
book, man, who cares?
He was helping on one of our corporate videos, and he was like, man, I hate this so much. I don't want to do this. I don't even need to be doing this. And
I'm a dick.
He was a little rude about it, but I could understand.
I was overwhelmed at the time.
He was overwhelmed. Yeah. And so I basically said, well, that's, your decision. I'm not going to force you to do this, but then we need to talk about how we're going to restructure things if you're taking a step back and hiring or whatever it's going to be. But it kind of worked out because it wasn't that much longer after that. And I think you came to me around how long you've been doing it for about a year and a half. Yeah. And that's when you were officially like, I don't think I really want to do this that much anymore.
Yeah.
And then for me, it was about a year after starting.
Yeah.
A year and 3 months, something like that.
Yeah. Almost the same timing.
Pretty close. It was a few months after. And I turned to Chris and I said, I think I understand where you're coming from. This is really hard to do both. So let's find a way to, I still didn't want to kill the business. We still haven't killed the business, but it's definite. The structure has changed a lot where if something is happening through Know How Media, it's usually a deliverable for a client partnered with something to do with our socials. Usually it involves travel. It's kind of this big mishmash of deliverables now, whereas it used to be just, oh, we make a video for a client. Here you go. See you later. So it's a little bit different now, the way that it runs, but it works for us. And we have other contractors that we bring out. We have other producers we work with, editors. So we can still do that work, but now we've built it up in a way that like, it doesn't have to physically be Chris or I going out on set every time. And that's what it used to be. So yeah.
Very cool.
I love hearing the story about kind of your growth and everything like that. What about people that have been on YouTube for a while and just aren't seeing any growth? Like, what is your advice to them if they're just stagnant?
You want to take that one?
I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, I've always been in the boat that like, it's not always necessary that you have to be growing all the time. Like Lizzie and I are at a point where like, if this stopped in terms of growth, like, and the fan base just continued to watch, I think both of us would be extremely happy and everything's fine. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, more eyeballs, that's great. More appreciation for the stuff that we make. But I'm not at a point where I'm like, I keep growing, or these are the things you have to do to keep growing. Like, I think that's a personal question that you have to kind of answer yourself, where it's like, if the growth, you've been doing it for a long time and growth is important to you, then I think at that point, number one, you have to decide if you're happy with the content that you're creating. And if you're not happy with it, then start experimenting and trying different things that maybe resonate more with you, or just if your growth is the thing, then study the data and go, super deep into what grows you, and then just make that stuff. And that's there's two sides to it. Either be an artist and make the things that you want, or go heavy in the data, because there's people that study the data, make the videos that get the views and get the subs and then get the money, and treat it very much like as a structured business. And I would say that Lizzie and I are somewhere in this like middle area where we like are still artists. We're very business focused and business mindset, and we can make the videos, continue to grow. It doesn't have to be exponential growth, but it's still growing.
Yeah. See, I agree with you in some ways, but I would also disagree in some ways, because if you aren't seeing growth and growth is your objective, I would first of all change the way that you're evaluating your success. If it's all about numbers, I don't think that's healthy, and it's not going to work for you. Even with us, everything's an ebb and flow. So I try not to measure my success in that way. It is nice when you hit, a subscriber milestone or something like that. We don't get promotions. So that's the way we evaluate how well we're doing, we don't have that. So it is nice, but change the way you evaluate your success. You probably are seeing a lot more growth personally and creatively than you're giving yourself credit for. And maybe you need to also reevaluate your intentions in what you're doing. Maybe you're focusing too much on growth and making things in a certain recipe, and you're making a lot of the same that everybody else is making. And from my perspective, the way YouTube is shifting now, it's you have to be making stuff that you absolutely like. You have to love doing it. You have to be yourself. And and it is a really personality driven. If you're not being yourself, no one gets to know you. And that's 90% of why they're showing up on your channel in the first place. So come back to like a central why you're doing what you're doing, and then try and like have fun with it. Truly be and make your own stuff on your channel that is uniquely you, because there is so much of the same on the platform that people are craving something different.
Yeah. If anything, make your focus to make this job sustainable, and not so much a focus on how to constantly keep growing it. Because you could try to like go heavy on trying to grow.
Sometimes it happens when you're not paying attention either.
Yep. No, absolutely.
It's like when you're looking for your first boyfriend, you know, you're just like, I want a boyfriend so bad. Or like, oh, and guys probably the same. I don't know. Never lived in your shoes. But for me, you know, when we all hit 13, we're like, oh my God, I want a boyfriend so bad. And then you don't get one. And then you're just like living your life. And then suddenly, you know, you meet somebody and things are great. It's kind of the same thing. You can't.
Is the boyfriend success? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the boyfriend is success.
Oh, you were being you. Here's success.
No, that's exactly my analogy.
That's such a great analogy. I was just dissecting it.
Yeah. Sometimes you're just minding your own business and this guy jumps in with a cape and is like, your husband's here.
I truly was minding my own business, and that's exactly, unfortunately, what happened.
And I flew into your life.
So there is some really, really valuable, helpful advice there about, and I think
mostly what Lizzie said.
No, you are right, and like you do have to pay attention to trends, like somewhat, to get your foot in the door, for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
but if you're not growing, you need to ask yourself, what could you maybe do differently to maybe see some growth?
Well, I like the piece of advice of, you know, be honest with yourself of what are you looking for? Are you looking to create as a form of self-expression, or are you looking to create a business, or somewhere in between? Because each are going to require different things depending on what your goal of, or what your definition of success is, it will take different steps to get there. And Lizzie, you touched on the idea of numbers not being the only way to measure success, because there are other factors that can cause numbers to come and go. So personally for you two, what is something you use to measure success besides numbers? How do you know that you did a good job?
Great question.
sorry.
You start.
Right now, you know, this year has been a big focus on just like making better content and being more authentically me. And I think I can see that in some of the stuff that I've been doing. So I'm measuring my success, not in the views, but in like how I'm like, oh, that's actually Chris on camera, or that's really him shining through, and not this like camera version of him that I think everyone kind of puts on a little, not everyone, I don't say that, but like at least I did for a long time. A camera would show up and I'd just be like, Camera Chris, slightly more like laughing and being
your
carefree.
Voice literally changed, right? For a while. Like your voice was like you used to speak completely differently.
Yeah. So like even in a situation like this where I can do the interview and just like, I don't care as much about how I look. I don't care. I'm not thinking about these things or how I'm coming across. Like it can just be authentically, is that the word? I can be more authentic. And that's an important measure of success for me, because I feel like that allows me to connect with my audience on like a deeper level. And then story, like developing story. So right now I'm working on a documentary, and it's really the first time I'm like studying a piece and not just me like make it, put it out quickly, boom, it's in the world. Like this is going to take months to make and make it great.
Yeah. When you're really proud of something you made.
Yeah.
And that's why I talked a little bit about changing your perspective on what you're making. If you're really proud of it, no one else can take that away from you. Comments, people always have something to say, no matter, like if you look at the Q&A we did, a lot of people were really excited about the fact that we were being so transparent, but there are people who thought that we were being too transparent and they didn't want to hear about that. And that's fine. Everybody has their own opinion. So if you're constantly looking for gratifications from opinions, you're truly not going to get anywhere. But at the same time, there are those comments and those pieces of feedback or DMs that, and some people in this chat who are saying, oh, you know, Lizzie or Chris, you really did impact me in some way in my life. And that makes me feel fulfilled and happy and proud. And like Chris said, when you make something you're really proud of, but also when I know that I've built this business that is allowing me to, I think our job is so cool and I can live off of this job, and we have a house and 2 cats, and that, you know, if we've learned anything during COVID, that, you know, makes me so happy just having this little, you know, pod of us that we can self-sustain ourselves, especially during such a tough time when people are having these issues. So that is something that is a little bit more like of a financial goal, but it's still a factor. It's in your Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, it is what makes you feel like fulfilled and reach self-actualization. If you don't know what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is, Google it. You'll understand what I'm talking about.
Good one.
Yeah, that's what
nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stephen is saying your last video was so transparent and authentic. He gained so much respect for you because of that video. He loved the Q&A video. Marcus is saying the Q&A video was hilarious and uncomfortable at the same time. So a lot of people really hilarious and uncomfortable at the same time. That's a good way to explain things. I want to shift the conversation here. You pointed out something earlier about, we'll call it Instagram or social media, whatever we want to call it, killing your creativity. I know, Chris, you recently did a video on this too, and you mentioned it earlier. And it's interesting you pointed out that we're seeing a lot of the same thing on Instagram or social media in general. Talk to us a bit about what brought you through that conversation, and if you have landed on a bit of a solution, or, you know, I'm trying to think of the word, like an answer for that. Is Instagram or social media killing our creativity? And if so, what's the resolve there?
I mean, it's always tough. I mean, this does come back to, again, what we were kind of just chit-chatting about previous to this. It's like what your goals are, right? So I think, you know, when you're starting out on any platform, you know, you start off, I don't know, I'm like, I think about when I was like a kid and I used to write songs. I just wrote songs to write songs because it was fun to write songs. And then as you get older, you're like, well, I would love to play it for people. What do people love? So then you start to write songs for other people, not just yourself, right? And I think that same idea can kind of be applied to photo and video. So what happens is,
hold on, that's my cat pressing the keyboard.
Yeah,
that's the cat.
Bear is on.
You can show us the cat, by the way.
We
want to get this answer, but the cat is sending emails. Is that your assistant?
Hey, she's at Josh's desk. Yeah.
So I think
submitted a proposal to Purina.
All of a sudden
that's gotta get fed.
The video out next week. Sorry, let's get back on.
No worries. So then you start to, you're like, okay, well, maybe my outlet is video, or maybe my outlet is photo. So you make something, and in your mind, when you're just making it with no like pressures, you're like, this is my creative thing that I made. This is my creative baby. Then people start to look at it and they're like, well, it's not like this other thing that I've seen that I really like. So then you start to like shift the way that you create things so that it is more likable, both on a platform online and both in real life. So like, that's a tough thing, because there's formats that work and you're like, well, that worked. I would love to do the same thing. So I also get the admiration and love and joy. So, you know, maybe it's rooted in fear because you don't want to like put your voice out there and maybe people judge it. So then you're like, well, it's safer if I just make the thing that's a little bit similar to this thing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it won't get judged as much because other people loved it. So that's where it kind of like, I think it all starts. And then all of a sudden, you know, you have this business of Instagram and YouTube where there's a structure and a formula that works. So like for a long time, travel content was like king, and people were like, boom, photos of mountains, that's sick, like, boom. And you're just like, well, okay, people like the mountain photo, so let's put out 7 more mountain photos. And you just keep getting, and you feed that as you see the growth. You get really excited, and all of a sudden brands start getting involved and maybe money's on the table, and then you're like, just more mountains, because that's feeding this whole thing.
Meanwhile, you probably haven't thought about if you like taking photos of mountains.
Right. And I think it's very easy for this like creativity creep to kind of like come into your life a little bit. And without even you realizing it, you're like following a formula, you're following what works. And it's hard because maybe like every now and then you try a different video, or you try putting out something that feels more like you, and it doesn't perform well, or it doesn't, get the same reception that other people
will every time.
No, exactly. And I've put out a lot of videos that have bombed that I loved, and vice versa, something that I created and it's done really well and it's been really well received. They're just higher risk when it comes from like a creative standpoint. So I think it's not that it's killing your creativity, because Instagram is like inherently this wonderful place to share your creativity. And even what's going on with NFTs right now, I think people are being fueled to be like more creative and make crazier creative things. So there's I've always said this, like I stopped making music because of the business of music. Like that's what killed my excitement of that industry. Because I had to fit into a bit of a structure for it to financially make sense. And I've said a lot of different things. I don't really have like a full.
You're basically saying yes and no.
Yeah.
Like from my perspective, can I add to?
Yeah, no, go for it.
On the one hand, it's a tool that can influence you to start new creative things, to get new creative ideas, et cetera, et cetera. On the other hand, it can also influence you to take a certain kind of photo, to edit something in a certain way, and maybe it's for that photo to be more well received, or whatever the intention. Like there are entire niches of photography that I'm sure wouldn't be nearly as popular without Instagram as a platform, and probably entire, types of art that would not have been, wouldn't be so popular otherwise, in good ways and bad ways. So it's changed the whole landscape of what, art is for, better or worse.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is just like an interesting story. So there's like a lot of things going on right now with Beeple, Beeple_crap. And he's like,
Beeple crap.
He's like, I read something that he's the third most profitable artist of all time right now.
And his name is Beeple crap.
Which is, yeah, Mike Winkleman. So I met Mike at Adobe Max 3 years ago. We were on the escalator, and I always thought it was funny because he was like, I was like, oh, what do you do? And he showed me his work, and I didn't get it. I thought it was cool. I just didn't get it, right? And I'm sure that even that experience, I was like, this is super cool. I never probably said that to him, but I'm sure he's probably gotten a lot of responses about his work where people were probably like, interesting, cool.
People
right?
are probably more, receptive to the, like, someone swimming with dolphins underwater, like a pretty girl swimming with dolphins underwater.
Yeah,
than what Beeple makes, which is, these pieces of art that are, first of all, like these digital pieces of art that are like incredible.
Yeah.
But they also take a pretty like firm political stance opinion.
Totally. And it's
which is controversial. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember it was really funny because he took a look at my work. And he's like, man, it's so cool. Like you go to the place and you get the camera and you're there shooting the photos. Like that's cool. Right. And I just think it's really interesting to see that Mike just always stayed true to himself. Like for 13 years, he made his art, and now he's being like insanely rewarded for that creativity. But I always think like maybe at some point in his mind, if at any point he was like, well, I don't know, this isn't working, or maybe I should just pivot and do what's well received. And it's interesting to see right now, I think, and this is how I feel, maybe it's not how everyone else feels, is that when you find these really amazing creative people, both big and small or wherever they are in their career, we value creativity so much. And when it's like really good, it just blows up and then everyone copies that thing. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting and very difficult to try to be like you and what your creative thing is and
shut
out all this other influence. And I think at the same time, to flip on it, to kind of add more to your conversation there too, I also think that Instagram has fueled the fire for a lot of people to be a photographer, for a lot of people to be a videographer, for a lot of people to have the actualization that they could be a full-time creative. And I also think that there's something amazing to be said about that.
Very cool.
It's very intense philosophical.
You've gone back and forth a lot. I think you're done.
But I think it's good. It's a very, it's a good conversation. And I mean, I think it's a love-hate relationship, being forced to watch things on the app that confront you, to question your creativity, to push you to your creative outlets, and to think, am I creating the content I love? Am I doing what I really want to be doing? Am I using my voice how I want to be using? It's kind of like that creative struggle all the time. So it is a good question, and we can't necessarily blame Instagram as a platform because it's just a platform. But I do think it's very confronting to creators. So I think it's a good conversation to have, and I appreciate your answers. So thank you.
Yeah, no, and it's, I think, good to go, back and forth, so to speak, and look at different sides, because if there was an easy one sentence answer to it, it wouldn't be something that keeps so many people up. So I think to give it a nuanced response is to understand the complexity of it. So thank you for taking the time to dig deep on that.
Yeah.
I want to move into, we only have a couple minutes left. Oh, there's a lot of people loving this conversation. Someone's saying, Joshua was saying, it's so nice to see you guys working together, because they often see you separate on your YouTube. So they like seeing you.
And I've got an audience question about that.
Sometimes
we yell at each other.
We schedule calls to hang out.
So I've got an audience question here that I want to ask you that ties into that a little bit, because you guys have touched on it at a few points that, you work together, you're business partners and life partners, and I'm sure that gets interesting at times. So Stephen is wondering, what advice would you give couples who work together?
Am I taking that?
Sure, go.
Boundaries for sure. And honestly, we have to be as strict sometimes as saying, like, in the evenings, we don't talk about work. On the weekends, we don't talk about work. And it's hard because we'll start conversations and be like, let's finish this on Monday, or let's talk about this another time, because it really takes you out of the time you're supposed to be spending together as like friends or as a couple. And it's like, how would you get into, especially if you're having, a romantic Valentine's Day, how would you get into the mood if you're talking about, work? You can't. And so you have to give yourself some space to have separate times for that. One thing that took us a while to learn is that when we're upset with something that's work related, it does not affect us personally and within our relationship. So if I'm mad that Chris didn't get this edit done on time, or if he's mad at me because, I don't know, what do I do that's annoying?
It's almost like there's work Lizzie and then there's relationship Lizzie.
Oh, he doesn't like that I'm too direct. People. That's it. He doesn't like that I'm direct. So if Chris has had to work on knowing that, like, that's just my work voice, and I do try my best to like tone it down, but for the rest of my life, I'm probably just going to be this way.
No, absolutely. And I've also learned to appreciate that. And there's a whole separate conversation there about expectations.
Yeah. But so yeah, we have to try not to take those things personally, and especially because we're getting married, support each other and be there for each other's successes, because it just means that our family unit will be that much, more successful in the long run. Like if he got a job that I didn't, for example, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. I think boundaries makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's great. You go ahead, Chris. You got something to say?
I just wanted to add. I think you got to really look at your relationship. Like, I think Lizzie and I have because we talk so much and we try to communicate really well. We communicate. I didn't want to be like we communicate really well, no, but we do, and that's a big part of the reason why this all works, is that we can like you saw in the Q&A, we can have really tough conversations. And there's like even another layer of like tough conversations that aren't even going out into the public, right? And we can get through all those things. Like I've always said that maybe Lizzie and I've had like in our 9-year relationship, maybe like 2 or 3 really bad fights. Most of the time we can talk through everything, which is like a pretty cool thing, considering that a lot of people would look at a relationship.
Doesn't mean we don't bicker often.
Oh yeah, we do little jabs are fun.
Yeah.
That's like, it's more playful than it is like
Sometimes
serious.
we end up like laughing while we're fighting.
Yeah. Like it's almost like entertaining for
it's like, I'm
ourselves.
gonna kill you.
Yeah.
I found another dish in the sink.
Yeah.
That's not.
I know.
Sorry.
In the sink. One time, my wife.
Like,
Yeah.
it was suffocate you while you're sleeping now.
Yeah, she said to me,
but because of that, I think we inherently knew that because we can have really tough conversations and find compromise or get through them, it makes it a lot easier to have the ideas or conversations about like running businesses together or starting a life together, whatever it might be. And because a lot of people are like, I find it interesting, and nothing against these comments. A lot of people will come to me like, oh, you work together and you live together and you have X, Y, and Z together. I don't know how you do it. I could never do that. And it's, I'm like,
fine.
I don't know. It's my best friend. I love chilling with her.
Teach their own.
Right? And
like, great. You're like, great. I'm not asking you to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Everybody's
Like it works for us, and I wouldn't say that it would work for everyone. But in our case, it works.
Now we're nearing the end of our time together already. And there's so much more we could dive into. Now there's one theme yet that I want to bring up just to kind of land the plane here. And Marcus actually asked it in the Q&A as well. Marcus asked, how do you stay creative and motivated during these tough times? And the topic we wanted to bring up with you is, how do you avoid proactively creative burnout? So in a year where so many inputs have been removed or at least modified, how do you proactively protect your creativity?
It's a good question. And it's actually something I'm looking into for a project I'm working on.
Yeah.
That you guys will see in the next couple months. So all I can do is answer that. I think for everyone, it's different. Sometimes being alone and with your own thoughts can, depending on how you feel about that solitude, can make you feel very inspired. And I think like growing up in my room, like when I used to play guitar, I would feel like that. But some people really feed off of collaboration. And when that's removed, it's hard for them to feel inspired and to come up with different ideas. I've definitely noticed, especially at the beginning of all of this. Now I feel like we're in kind of a routine and I'm used to the way things are. But initially there was this underlying anxiety about, are we going to be okay? Financially, everyone was watching all kinds of COVID videos online. So the whole algorithm was just really messed up. My channel took a dip. It really made you question a lot of things in your life. And also, a pandemic is terrifying in itself. So it was scary and that was distracting. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be okay. And that makes it hard to create and to feel inspired for sure. Yeah. So now it's more about, what have I enjoyed making and how can I go back to making things like that again? Okay, yes, we are influenced by what we think our audience wants to see, but also how can we make this video different than the last one and try something new and try and make this video a little better than the one before. And so that makes it fun because learning is fun and improving is fun. But it can, when we used to be out taking photos all the time and traveling, like it sucks that we can't do that and we miss it, but we're finding different ways and different types of projects. Like Chris and I are both working on different sort of minis right now. And that's been really fun and fulfilling and challenging. So finding like projects like that are good for us. And when you have an idea, run with it as soon as possible or it will dissolve and you won't be excited about it anymore.
That is a huge tip for anybody who's watching, is if you're excited about an idea, make it as quickly as you possibly can. Don't be like, save that one for a rainy day.
Yeah.
You're excited about it, like make it when you're excited about it.
Yeah. So you kind of have to pay attention to how, that social interaction, whether it exists or not, makes you feel and try to create, a happy space for you to get inspired. And usually that's just like the rule of thumb is it's not going to come from stress. It's going to be pretty much impossible for you to be inspired when you're stressed out and overwhelmed and burnt out. and talking about how not to get burnt out as well. I did make a video about that, and if you guys did see it, you'll see that there's a whole chemical rigmarole that affects how your body will physically stop you from being creative when you are stressed and burnt and feeling burnt out. So it really comes down to, again, setting boundaries, not working all the time. That's not going to be helpful. Taking that time to do like mundane tasks, like make sure your house is clean and you're eating healthy food and you're exercising and taking time for yourself, because having that schedule, and that's why people always talk about morning routines, because that schedule every day and having those rituals gives them sanity, and helps them be happier people, which also is rooted in productivity and doing a good job at work, but also health. Like, you'll know when you feel like you need to be putting in more effort at work, or when you feel like you need to maybe take a half day off because you're not feeling great. Just pay attention to how you feel, because if you're stressed and feeling burnt out, you're going to have to take a step back, and you don't want to get to that point where you're burnt out, because it's going to be so much harder for you to come back. So to come back from that and recover. So try to avoid hitting that level of burnout as much as possible, and just you're never going to feel like every day you're doing a perfect job and managing like, oh, wow, I am so balanced all of the time with my work life and my home life. That will truly never happen. Every day is going to be different. And it's just about like moderating that, in my opinion.
That was a really great answer.
I've thought a lot about this and still doing research on it, so I have a lot to talk about.
I also think that we put being a creative or getting inspired on a pedestal a lot, and we're always like, oh, I gotta wait until I'm inspired to make this thing, or I gotta read this book or do this thing, and then I'll make the thing. And I've always just been in the camp. There's a great line in a Macklemore song. He goes, "The greats weren't great because at birth they could paint. The greats are great because they paint a lot." And that's something that's always like stuck with me, that I treat being a creative like a job, and I show up every single day, even when I don't want to. And maybe that thing I made isn't great, but the next thing after that could be. And I think that's how you also stay creative, is by doing it even when it sucks.
Yeah.
So good.
That's so good. Someone here is asking if you guys have ever considered creating a course or providing mentorship to other creators.
I think it'd be cool. I'd love to build a community doing that kind of stuff, whether it's online.
I have thought about it. Yeah, I have thought about it. I think my nervousness around it is I know that a lot of other creators kind of build their livelihood doing this, in like mentoring other creators and or aspiring creators. And I don't think I don't really feel right about that being a part of my business model. So it's something that I would like to offer when it's awful, because I'm sure other people are like, oh, I would love to like ask Lizzie all these questions, but I always feel like I want to be, I don't know, like I want to feel ready for it. Like it's always funny because we don't feel like we have that much to share. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I want it to be worth it for these people if it's something we do.
I think we're there.
We probably are,
but it's again another big decision. I think when kind of going back to what I was saying before, when I was like doing YouTube, it's like you're committing yourself to a full-time job. I think if we were to let down the people that relied on us as mentors, because our time is being pulled in so many directions, I feel like I would feel worse letting down a mentee or someone who is this, and we have this relationship, than I would if I didn't make a YouTube video for my audience that week, because I personally intimately know that person.
So let's put it this way. When we did our Azores course a couple of years ago, everyone who attended got, there were daily, like almost like lessons with everyone, almost like a class, but every day we had a different one-on-one with someone. And they could ask us whatever they wanted, and our advice would be completely tailored to them. We would review their portfolio. And it was supposed to be, because of the amount of people and because the days were so packed, these were pretty late in the evening, and they were supposed to be about a half hour or an hour. And I remember whatever time it was supposed to be, it was basically doubled for every single person. And we would go into the last possible second, because we just wanted to make sure that
They
they
just
got.
go on. It's so long.
Yeah, they would go
Like,
on
also
forever.
this idea.
We were exhausted, and then after that, Chris and I would go and like fine tune our lesson plan for the next day. So and then respond to emails and like, oh my God, like post a video. I don't know. So every night we were up till like 1 a.m. and then we'd have our first lesson start at like 7:30 or 8 or something. Yeah, it was exhausting. But yeah, it's really, when we do that, we want it to be, we want everyone to feel like I want to say got their money's worth.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the reason that you have a few concerns about it, and the reasons why you guys spent so much time the first time you did it, is because you're deeply invested in the people who you're working with and the people who you're hearing from. And I think that sets you up to do a fantastic job if and when you decide to do it. I think that kind of mentality is going to be of great benefit to the people who eventually come under your mentorship, if that's something you decide to do. Now, for at least this period of time, we've got our listeners that are, so to speak, under your mentorship. And I'd love if, to end our time together, you could give us a challenge, something that over the next week you can challenge us to do, whether it be big or small. Scott and I will do it as well, and the people who are listening, and we'll see what happens. So what challenge would you give us this week?
His eyes just lit
No,
up.
no,
He's got an idea.
No, because I'm laughing. There's this scene in The Office where Pam's like, Michael, what do we have to do today for this business? And he goes, I need to find 100 clients and sell them all right now. And I literally wanted to say that as like a joke, being like, we should all get 100 clients in 24 hours. Just like something completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I would say.
Did we do it?
Yeah,
we should do it.
Yeah.
Good.
Go on Fiverr right now.
Yeah, right now.
What I would say is I think there's a lot of people who are making for others in mind, and I would challenge yourself to make something for you without any outside influence, and just make it for you. And whether you put it out in the world, and maybe it's this thing that you have, whether it's on your phone, you're drawn out in real life, make it for you.
Very cool.
Love that.
Let's do it. That's doable. And then Scott, you have one last question as well. I
do. Oh, Lizzie, did you have a challenge for us? I just want to make sure.
Oh, I don't want to give you two things to do.
Okay, we'll stick with the one. We love hand-me-downs in the sense of things or piece of advice that come from people that have gone before us, or a family member, or a grandma or grandpa or somebody. Is there a hand-me-down that you would like to pass on to our community, a piece of knowledge, a piece of wisdom that you have taken on for your life that you would love to share with our community?
Want me to start?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
This isn't from my dad, and was a very practical person, and my mom is kind of the same way. So they have a lot of good quotes, but this isn't from them. Sorry guys, but it's from someone on the internet, because we stole it and we made a neon sign that I'm going to put up in my office, and it's called it says, remember why you started. And so I think it's about bringing your daily intention back to why you started this whole thing in the first place and what you want to do with it. And that's always going to help you stay motivated, stay focused, and make great stuff.
I think that's great.
Love that.
Oh, thanks.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I feel like I never really had formal, like, people come to me and be like, here's words of wisdom, remember this thing. Like, I want to do that for my kid. So they like have visions that's like a movie in their head, right. And they're sitting back and like I say something to them.
My dad has a lot of sayings.
Your dad was awesome.
But yeah. I don't necessarily agree with all of them.
Yeah, not all of them. I've heard some of them.
My dad was born in 1935. It was a different time. Okay. And your grandfather, the one thing he used to say is, if someone offers you money, take it.
Just take it.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah, so, like literally someone will be like, here's $5. I'm like, thanks. They're like, oh, okay.
So
that's such a funny piece of advice.
Yeah.
Someone gives you money,
just take it.
Remember why you started, and if someone gives you money, take it.
No, I mean, I would love to. I mean, again, I studied Macklemore like crazy because I was like a really, really big fan of him. So like the thing that comes to mind, and it's not the thing that stands out, this is just the one, when you ask me this question, it comes to my mind. 10,000 hours feels like 10,000 nails, but 10,000 nails is what carries you. And I've always thought about how it's not always easy to make things all the time, and it can be stressful and painful, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And I've always just reminded that when you, like, if you were to lay on a bed of nails of 10,000 nails, it wouldn't hurt because you put all the time in.
That's so good.
Awesome advice.
Have you read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, Chris?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I used to gift that to people, like, so pretentiously, like, here's a book. Like, I didn't ask for this. Like, read it.
It's a good book though.
I think giving books as gifts is the coolest thing. I think that's a ton of fun.
I've never gotten a book from you.
Well, Scott.
I would love to be gifted books. I have to ask.
It's hard to be in the mountains, be like, right, the book. Give it
I feel like other people don't like it.
Here's a book.
I think I offered you a few and you asked me if they were on Netflix.
I like if someone gives you a book, read it.
Well, it's
there
also
we go.
like, hey, here's a book, and then you're like, wow, there's 8 hours of my life.
Yeah.
I want that.
I know, it's very nice, but then you're like, feel obligated if it's not a good book. That's a big thing. I like the book thing.
And you can give me books for
Scott, I'll give you a book.
Can you give me a book?
I'll give you a book.
Next time you come over, we'll take you into the library. We'll give you something.
Give me a book. I'll read it. And give me money too, because I'll definitely take it.
I'll give you a book and a $5 to use as a bookmark. Chris and Lizzie, if there was someone in here, I doubt there is, but let's say there was someone in here who was not familiar with their work, not familiar with your work, but after this, they want to be, they're like, they've been living under a rock. They don't know, but they want to now. Where can they find you?
Chris?
LIZZIE space PEIRCE. Don't mess that up.
Don't mess that up.
Find her on YouTube's. Find her on Instagrams.
It's my name everywhere.
And go watch her Burnout video. It will inspire the crap out of you.
Chris can be found on most things, the Chris, CHRIS, HAU, HAU.
Nice.
Otherwise, it will just be the name. But yeah.
And I think we'll get some links to your guys' channels in the chat here, and then people can follow them. Maybe we'll get the Burnout video linked, and then people can go straight to it. Thank you so much for taking the time to be so open and candid with us and share your thoughts, your journeys, your hopes, your frustrations. Really appreciate you opening up. It's been enjoyable. It's been helpful, and I can't wait to do it again sometime.
I miss you, Zach.
Seriously, for those, Lizzie and I met in
the comments too. Thanks for being here and dedicating a part of your day. That's really nice.
Never get to do live ones like this.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Cassandra. Thanks, Rom. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, all the other people that are here.
I saw, Tracy, what you said about your edit voice. I totally feel that.
And Chloe.
It's so hard.
And Canadian Kelsey, who's different than American Kelsey. Okay. We should go to Kelsey's tonight and have food.
Oh my God, really?
Kelsey?
Kelsey's is a pretty good restaurant.
Kelsey's
still have it? I think it closed down out here.
Oh, don't say that.
That's a shame.
Good spinach dip.
Canadian Kelsey just thought she was getting house guests. She's like, I got to start cooking.
Dip. That was their best.
Spin dip, I'll be there.
Dip, and then we're in.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. It was so good to see you guys, and I can't wait till we can hang out together again, and you can come back here, and Lizzie won't have food poisoning, and we're gonna live our best lives.
Burgers next time.
The next time we hang out, we won't be in a gravel parking lot in the pouring rain for 18 hours.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. It was still a good time.
It was still a good time. Oh, there's a cat.
What's this one's name?
That's Bear.
Bear. I don't know where Luna.
Go get the other one. The what was it, Lunar?
It might take a minute. Do you have time?
Okay. Yeah, we got time.
We got so much time. Hey, well, while Lizzie is tracking down Luna, we're gonna share our win of the week pretty quick here. So start thinking of your win of the week. You can share it in the chat. We will read a few of them out, and Scott and I will share ours as well. A win of the week is anything big or small that you are excited about or thankful for or proud of that's gone on. It could be as simple as, watching a nice sunrise or having a good meal, or maybe you got a new job or a big accomplishment in your work or creative journey. Whatever it is, share it. We will be excited with you. So start thinking about that while
what's your win of the week? Because I know you were keeping it from me earlier. You wouldn't tell me.
I was keeping it from you. Do you want me to tell you now, or do you want me to wait for
of course, it's the win of the week time.
It's win of the week time. Bear's listening in. No, so I moved the other day, and I was going through a box of some of my belongings, and I found a bunch of old sleeves of film, and I had got when I was a kid, when I was 6 years old. Oh, hold on. Here's Luna.
Oh, here's.
She's very sleepy.
Oh,
Cats are always sleeping. This is what they do. Are they ever awake?
No.
Okay, I think, is it Lunar or Luna?
yeah.
Luna. I think Luna is my favorite of the two.
Most people like, well, actually, no.
If you met Bear in person, you might feel otherwise.
Oh, really? Why? Who's more aggressive? I just don't want the aggressive one.
Neither of them are aggressive. But
They're both very sweet.
Luna, Bear is Bear loves everyone, a little more friendly. Luna's a little more timid.
Oh, okay.
A little more flopsy.
Maybe I would like Bear then. I don't know.
They're both
great.
They're both great. So you guys are cat people. You're not dog people.
We like both. Just we can't have a dog right now. We're not.
Right.
It's much energy.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, look at the cats. Okay.
Look at this big happy family.
Of the week.
Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate you a ton.
Saying goodbye. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Lizzie. You guys are awesome. Stick around too for the mystery box winner. Everybody, don't leave yet. But thank you guys for being so generous with your time. And thanks for showing us the cats. And you guys are awesome.
Bye,
We
guys.
love you lots.
See you soon.
The cats.
Cats. That was my win of the week. No, so I found a couple of sleeves of photos that I had taken when I was 6 and 11 years old. So my parents gave me a disposable camera and I was just like shooting film as a 6-year-old. So it was so neat to see what things I shot back then. So some of them are like portraits of my family members from like a 6-year-old's height, like looking up.
Wow.
Yeah. And just like photos of my parents and my brother, like way back in the day. And obviously like I have memories of it, but to actually see those moments, what the house used to look like and that sort of thing.
Wow. That is.
And I also took some pictures on a camping trip and it was crazy to me, Scott. Some of the photos were shot with almost the exact same composition I'd use now.
Wow.
And in some of the same places I've traveled to as an adult. It was so crazy seeing like Cultus Lake and Deception Pass through childhood me, like before I saw what, photography was supposed to be, just what I thought it could be, I guess.
What
So,
I love about childhood you is I was probably still adult me.
yeah. Yeah. These photos are from like 2001. Yeah.
That's what's even crazier. Okay.
What was your one of the week, Scott?
Well, mine, I lied to you earlier. I said I got my taxes done. I'm almost done my taxes. I just have a few more things to submit to my accountant, but I am almost got the taxes done. And that has been a huge win of the week because it's something that has been on my mind. And so I'm almost done that. Someone here is saying that they flew a drone under a bridge for the first time.
Nice. And they didn't crash. Nice work, Tracy.
What a great win. What are some other wins of the weeks here? Someone finally got to sit down and edit their video. That is a huge win when you get something off of your to-do list. Someone just
says,
go ahead.
I got recently had Canon Canada follow me on Instagram. That got me excited.
That's a huge win of the week. We love our friends at Canon Canada.
Cheers.
Yeah, you've got the mug there. Someone said they received a question from one of our clients to make a video featuring the tourism and a couple of the local businesses. So that's great. It's always great when people are getting work, especially now when people can get, especially dream jobs. So that's great.
Totally. Oh, producer John, guys, I got back into regular journaling this past week and it's been so needed. I love it. That's so
Producer John loves to journal.
He does.
He said that if I get a book, it needs to be an audiobook, and he's probably correct. So just send me the link. Instead of if you give Scott a book, he'll read it. If you send him a link, he'll listen.
That'll be the challenge, actually. The challenge is send Scott an audiobook.
Send me an audiobook. Anyway, we've got time for the mystery box. So I'm going to open it up here.
Yeah. And I just got word, a little
Birdie.
Little buzz from the team in the ear, and I found out who our MVP is.
Oh,
yeah.
You did?
I did.
I love that you have those special ears. I don't have them yet.
I got one of those like little bodyguard earbuds under the headphone.
I like those.
Okay.
Do you want to announce the winner? And I'm going to open up the box, and I think we have the box makes a sound too.
I don't know if the box is going to make a sound. It might. Let's see. There we go. It made a sound. Crazy. So there's a whole ton of people who could have been the MVP today. The chat was a ton of fun, super positive, super uplifting, super open. So we're grateful for that. But there was one who was head and shoulders above the rest and is the recipient of whatever is in that box Scott just opened. And that person is Steven. So Steven, congratulations.
Steven, congratulations.
Our MVP.
Producer John will get your address and we're going to send you. This is actually really cool. It is the Canon selfie. And so
hey, that's
awesome.
sweet.
This allows you to print your photos right off of your phone and turn them into somewhat of a Polaroid. So this is awesome. And we're even going to send you from the mystery box some extra printing film, printing prints or whatever.
And you know what's really cool about those ones? Not only do you get to, you know, instantly print a photo, but you can peel off the back and stick it onto something if you like. So you can have a sticky back if you want and put it like on a computer or a mug or a wall. But you can also choose not to and just tack it up if that's what you prefer, or keep it in a wallet or whatever. They're a ton of fun. I have one in my office. So it's a great week for Stephen and Canon, because Stephen was the guy who got followed by Canon on Instagram, and now he wins the Canon selfie. So
what a double win of the week.
Big week for Stephen. We're pumped.
I love that. Zach, it has been such a great show. Chris and Lizzie were amazing. The cats were great as well. Lunar and Bear, we can't thank them enough. Everyone, if you are enjoying the Socality Show and all that we're bringing to you, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, and we can keep bringing you more guests. And if you want to watch it on YouTube, go ahead. And if you want to listen, you can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
That's right. Thanks for joining, guys. We had a ton of fun with you today. We can't wait to do it again. Take care wherever you are. We'll see you soon.